Hello, my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and today's video is going to be my Pride Month TBR. And on that note, happy Pride Month. I do think this video is going up like a little bit early, but we are close enough. This is going to be a slightly longer TBR than what I usually go for, and by slightly, I mean it's not slightly, it is longer. I chose a lot of books for this TBR. I could not help myself. I do think a majority of them will be quick, will be short. But we'll also see how it goes. Either way, I definitely have a TBR that I am very excited about. The content warnings for all of these books will be linked down below in the description, along with a list of LGBTQ+ resources. And with that, let's go ahead and get into it. And the first book on this TBR is going to be Always the Almost by Edward Underhill. This is a YA romantic drama that follows a 16-year-old trans piano player who has two New Year's resolutions. One is to win back his ex, and then the other is to win the Midwest's biggest classical piano competition. These are two things that are not going to be easy to do just on their own, but when he meets an openly queer cartoonist from Seattle, who he's starting to get a crush on, his plans become much more complicated. You know when you just know that you're about to read a 5-star read? That is me with this book right here. And it's been that way since before it even came out. I've always had a really good feeling about it. It sounds cute. It sounds like it's going to play with my heart and my emotions, both with the romance and also with the themes of self-confidence, growth, and discovery. I also tend to love when there are musical elements, so my expectations for this book overall are very high, but I do really think this book and I are going to have a great time together. Next up is A Scatter of Light by Malinda. This takes place in the Bay Area during the time of marriage equality being legalized, and it follows our main character whose parents exile her to California after a graduation party goes wrong. She's expecting nothing but boredom to come from this, but that all changes when she meets her grandmother's gardener, as she begins to start second-guessing who she is and who she wants to be. I read Last Night at the Telegraph Club back in January, and it was a 5-star read. It's one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year, and honestly, it's pretty high up on that list. I loved most things about that book, but I really loved the writing style, which told me that I needed to read more from this author, so that brought me here. Especially since I know that there's a tie-in to Last Night at the Telegraph Club in this book, and that's really all that I needed to know that I needed this book in my life. Next up is Bitter by Akwaeke Emezi, which is the prequel to Pet. Pet takes place in the city of Lucille, where monsters no longer exist, or at least that's what our main character and all of the other children in the city have been told. But when a creature emerges from her mother's painting in order to hunt down a monster, she has to reconsider all that she has been taught regarding monsters and her city. I reread Pet the other month for the Trans Rights Readathon and had an amazing time with it, and I definitely want to read Bitter while Pet is still fresh in my mind. Not that I would hate a third reread, but still. My one complaint about Pet was actually Bitter related, so I do think that this book here is going to clear up a lot of things for me. And I also thought that Bitter was just a really interesting character in Pet, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting to know Bitter more, and I'm also just looking forward to getting to know this world more, because I did find Pet to be kind of surface level when it comes to that, and I'm hoping that this book dives deeper, so I am very curious and very excited. Next up is Bloom Into You by Nakatani Nio. This follows our main character who is a big fan of shoujo manga, and she has always dreamed of the day when she would receive a confession of her own. However, when that day comes from one of her male classmates, she ends up feeling nothing. She enters high school still unsure of how to respond to this person, but she gets inspired when she sees the student council president shut down her own suitor, so she goes to ask her for advice. Our main character's romance may have finally come, however, when the next confession that she receives comes from the student council president herself. So this is probably for both volumes 1 and 2. I read volume 1 last year. It was super quick, so I'll probably just binge these two right in a row because it has been a while. I also do own the second and third volumes of the spin-off light novel series. I've already read novel 1. So there's just a lot of content that I can consume from this series right now, which I love. That is what I want. I love the first light novel, and I thought the first volume of the manga seemed very promising. And I really want to dive into this series as much as I possibly can because I've heard so much about it for so long, and what I've already read from it has been great. Next up is Genderqueer by Maia Kobabe. This is a graphic novel and an autobiography that covers this author's journey of self-identity as someone who is non-binary and asexual. Ah yes, the most banned book in the United States for 2 years in a row, which is ridiculous and gross for so many reasons. And naturally, that pissed me off, so I immediately wanted to haul it, and now I am going to read it. I think I might be able to count on one hand how many memoirs that I've read, and I also just don't tend to read too many nonfiction books in general, but the ones that I have read have been amazing. So I'm definitely really looking forward to this one because everything that I've heard about it makes it sound like it's going to be amazing too. Next up is I'll Be the One by Lyla Lee. This follows our main character Sky, who is determined to enter the world of K-pop and break all of the rules that society has set for girls with her body type. So she enters an internationally televised competition that is looking for the next big K-pop star, and she nails her audition. Afterwards, she is immediately swept into the whirlwind of reality TV, both the expected things and also the unexpected. And we follow Sky as she strives for her dreams of becoming the first plus-size K-pop star while trying not to lose herself in the process. I read Flip the Script by Lyla Lee very recently, and that book just brightened my entire day. Like, it still brings me joy whenever I think about it. So I am definitely excited to read more from this author because of that, but also even if I hadn't read Flip the Script, I would still be interested in this book just based on the description. It's actually the one I hauled first. And that doesn't have nothing to do with this cover here. Like, I want and I need to be this happy, and I think this book can accomplish that. The characters and the relationships were such a huge part of why I love Flip the Script, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting to know more characters and seeing their relationships in here, especially any friendships or romances or just like the characters just being happy in general. I would also like to add this book to the very small list of books that I've read all in one day, which Flip the Script is a part of, so I think this one can be too. Next up is King and the Dragonflies by Kacen Callender. This follows our main character King, who is 12 years old and lives in a small Louisiana town. This story takes place when his older brother dies, and King is sure that he is still visiting him in his dreams as a dragonfly, which is something that he ultimately keeps to himself as he watches how grief transforms his parents. And we follow King as he navigates his life after this and as he discovers that there is no correct way to be yourself. This is a reread that I've been wanting to do for a while now, and I think that it's finally time for it. I originally read this book for a class that I took last year, and I'm really looking forward to experiencing it again outside of that. Pet was actually another book that I read for that class, and I enjoyed Pet more on the second read than I did the first because of the discussions and the assignments that we had in that class. And I do really think that a similar thing is going to happen with this book, and I already loved this book the first time that I read it, so this is gonna be good. Next up is Loveless by Alice Oseman. This follows our main character who has never interacted with love in any way besides being a fanfic-obsessed romantic who is sure that she will find her person one day. She begins university with her best friends and is ready to achieve her quote-unquote teenage dream. However, when her romance plans cause havoc amongst her friends, she starts to wonder why love seems so easy for others but not for her. Okay, so we have some arrow and some ace representation in here. We love that. It's been a while since I've read a non-Heartstopper related Alice Oseman book, which we'll get to that next. But back when I read Radio Silence, it was a 5-star read for me, just like all of Heartstopper, and based on the description of this, yeah, I definitely think another one is coming. This is one of those books that I could easily see just really meaning a lot to me if all goes well. And I really think that it is going to go well, so I definitely need to start mentally preparing for that. And speaking of Heartstopper, next is going to be Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman. This is the novella that is connected to the Heartstopper graphic novels. I don't see a reason why this shouldn't be in my TBR, so it is in my TBR. Heartstopper is one of my favorite series of all time. I've been missing them a lot since I've caught up. I'll take whatever they give me. I'm really looking forward to reading this, and then I'll just go right back to missing them again. Next is Our Dining Table by Mita Ori. This is a BL manga that follows our main character who has a talent for cooking but has always struggled to eat around others. That is until he meets two brothers who are many years apart in age who ask him to teach them how to cook. Afterwards, it's not long before our main character finds himself falling in love with the meals that they share together and also just falling in love in general. I actually just hauled this a couple of days ago. It sounds super adorable, wholesome, sweet, cozy, and just all of the nice and wonderful things in this world. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And the final book in this TBR is The Wicked Bargain by Gabe Novoa. This follows our transmasculine non-binary main character who is a teen pirate who is hiding a magical ability. However, magic is not going to be enough to stop El Diablo from coming to collect their father's soul along with the rest of the crew, crew. As payment for a bargain made by their father, our main character is saved by the only remaining pirate crew. El Diablo comes to them with an offer of a seemingly impossible task, so our main character turns that down, and things do seem pretty bleak. That is until they meet their unlikely allies and gain the courage to actually use their magic. This is the first official book in my summer TBR because, as you may know, water is a huge factor for me when it comes to choosing a summer TBR. And well, you see the cover, and also pirates, that sounds fun. This is one of the books that I hauled during the Trans Rights readathon, and that readathon fully introduced me to this book, and all I can say is thank you, because this book sounds amazing. I will probably wait towards the end of June when it officially becomes summer before I read this book, but we'll see. I make no promises. Okay, so that is all that I have for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that. And hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!